Hello, welcome to The Conversation, a News Central Television. This is the program where we bring you up to date with all the political happenings on the continent of Africa. I am Benga Aboroa.
And I'm Rita Omodia. We have lots of stories packed up for you today. We're looking at the Kenyan elections coming up on August 9th.
Yes, quite a lot happening around the continent. Today we will be discussing issues ahead of the Kenyan elections, where court has approved the use of a manual voter register. We'll also be touching on South Sudan, where the two leaders, President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar, has agreed to extend the transition period by another 2 years.
That's another 2 years going on. It was before extended, and now we have it extended once again. So right now we'll have situations in Kenya coming up now. And right now in Kenya, the Nairobi court has ordered Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, to use a manual register to identify voters in the August polls. Justice Mugure Thande quashed a letter that IEBC wrote to Azimio, saying they will only use KIEMs kits to identify voters. The court has found that the impugned decision of the commission to abandon the printed register violates the clear provisions of the Constitution, which provides that where an electronic voter identification device fails, then such a voter would be identified as a printed register.
Justice Mugure said if the decision is allowed to remain unchallenged, the result will be that voters' constitutional rights to vote under Article 38B will be violated. Justice Mugure said, although the Commission has not acted in an unruly manner, engaged in caprice or malice, it has acted in violation of the Constitution and the law. Now, joining us live this evening from Nairobi, Kenya, to discuss all of this and more, we have Vincent Ocheng Otieno, a political analyst. We also have Susan Kanga, a business development analyst. Glad to have you both join us on the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like to start with Susan. Susan, how do you react to this 11th hour decision by the Nairobi court that a manual voter register must be used in the upcoming polls?
Personally, I agree with the courts. Why do I agree with the courts? One, we have people whose names may not have appeared in the KIEMs kits, and probably they would wish to cast their votes. And as a constitutional right, they have a right to vote. So this will help people who are not in the kits to be able to vote. So everybody would have exercised their constitutional right. And I totally agree with the courts on this.
All right, thank you so much, Susan. I'd like to hear from Vincent now. Going back in time, we saw Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga indicating that there will be no elections without the manual register. Now, have there been any reactions from the opposition parties to this new announcement?
Thank you for the question. That's really a nice one. And I want to applaud the decision that was made by the court. It's a wonderful decision, and based on our political history, we have learned that many people have been missing. From voting, they've been. They're lacking to exercise their voting right because when they go to vote, their names are missing, or rather, their details cannot be found in the KIEMs kit. But now, with the decision that has been, with the ruling of the court that was ruled yesterday, it is really, really wonderful. And if you look at the history, Kenya is a diverse, is very diverse. We have farmers, we have people from different backgrounds that do different kind of works. And you find that somebody might go to vote, but their details are not there because maybe their fingerprints are missing, or rather, when they try to log in their details, they cannot be registered. So I just like to applaud the court, and I welcome the decision of the court that was made yesterday.
All right, thank you, Vincent.
Now, back to you, Susan. The Kenya Integrated Electronic Management Systems, popularly known as KIEMs, is regarded as a technological innovation that will speed up the election process and enhance the transparency of the process. Now that the court has said it won't be used to register voters in the upcoming elections, do you think the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commissions will appeal this decision by the court? And does it not? Is it not a step forward? Because if you look at most developed countries in the world, even Nigeria, most countries are getting they're getting rid of manual processes and they're embracing technology. Is this not a step backwards when you think of it in that light, Susan?
It is somehow a step backward, but again, I'm looking at the outcast areas in Kenya, probably areas where the digital systems may fail, and in the event that they fail, they'll be blocked from voting. I'm talking about the less advantaged communities, communities in the hardship areas, and they are in Kenya, in as much as we are developed, we are not yet there. So I totally agree with the courts, and for IEBC, in as much as they tried, I believe that manual registration would still help in some of the areas where KIEMs kits would not work. This was tried in the last election, and we saw it happening. There are places where the digital system could not work, transfer of registration could not take place, and we had to rely to the manual voter registration process to be able to get people to vote. So IEBC should embrace themselves to be able to do this probably in the next election. But to this extent, Kenya is still okay with both manuals and digital voting system.
So, Susan, the decision by the IEBC, by the court in Nairobi, to instruct IEBC to fall back to manual registration, do you think it will prevent further litigations? Because since 2017, the Supreme Court had to order a rerun of the elections because of voting irregularities. So by the court making a decision on this, would it prevent further litigations going forward, post-election litigations, for example?
Not fully, but partially. Of course, in every election, we expect a winner and a loser, and nobody always accepts losing. And we'll have litigation cases in court, but IEBC, if they're prepared enough, they'll have all the evidence, both from the manual registration system or the manual voting system and also the digital voting system. And we don't expect a lot of irregularities because they have said that they are well prepared and they're ready for us to cast votes and we get Kenya going on. We don't expect a lot of cases. We don't expect complaints. We expect to see who is the winner because this is a 50-50 kind of competition.
Okay, Vincent, I'd like a reaction from what Susan has said, because she mentioned so many issues with this technological use, talking about disadvantaged areas. But the stakeholder in charge, that is the IEBC, it's just a few days away to the election on Tuesday. Do you think they'll be able to comply with this court verdict?
Yes, I think the time frame that we have it is possible that they can comply. I mean, they have been preparing, of course, so they expected this. And based on the history, as Sister has said, that we have had issue when it comes to verification of the manual, in case there are some regularities or irregularities that are considered that may be there in the KIEMs kit. You know, technology, they have their advantages, the pros and cons that may come along with it. So they have time. Of course, they expected it. Is something that we saw coming. It was based on what Raila Odinga, which is one of the major contenders, he had been pushing for it, and is not coming from out of nowhere. People expected that there's a possibility, and depending, I mean, based on the time frame that we have now, I believe, and that is a possibility between yesterday and the time. I mean, on Tuesday, it's possible, and they can make it to come.
Now, Vincent, do you think the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission must have envisaged this sort of situation and prepared for manual registration since the case was in court. And once the case is in court, it could go both ways.
Sorry?
Do you think the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC, would have envisaged this sort of verdict from the court and would have started preparations for, you know, a hybrid system? It's either electronic or manual registration of voters. So they're not caught by surprise.
I mean,
yes.
It's not the first time.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm saying that, as I said further, it's not the first time that this is going to happen. And the issue has been raised, and it is worth something that was worth looking into. So I expected that as IBCA, who are the mandate, the party, those who are responsible, they expected it and they saw it coming. So I expect them to be ready by the time that people are going for election.
Okay, I'd like to bring in Susan here. You talk about IEBC envisaging this with all the court issues going on, but we've had issues just days away to the election. We've had schools being closed due to the election process. We also have the translating into travel warning. These are some of the issues that a lot of people would have thought that the IEBC would have looked at least far away from the election. So in your own opinion, Susan, do you feel that the IEBC is actually prepared for this election?
Yes, I think they're prepared for the election because the chairman mentioned that they are well prepared and ready for election. So we don't expect them to say that they are not prepared. And even for the court, as Vincent has said, they were prepared for the outcome of the court outcome, and I'm sure they were well aware. They were very well aware that there are areas that even that a digital system cannot work. So they have options. So I think IBC is well prepared.
And do you expect a better outing this time around than in the last time elections were held in 2017?
Yes, I expect a better outcome. This is the same team that was there in 2017. It is there in 2022. They learned their lessons. I believe they prepared out of the lessons that they learned in 2017. And they have always told us that they are prepared. So I don't have a doubt about IEBC. Of course, in every election, there are challenges. There are challenges in all elections, but we expect them to do better.
All right, thank you very much, Susan. I'd like to bring in Rixi Mubarak join us for this discussion now. Now, Rixi, we'll be discussing this Kenyan court approving the use of a manual voter register for the election and the preparedness of the IEBC. So let's first of all have your take on it. Do you think it's a step forward? Do you think it's a welcome development? Or do you feel that things should have been done in place before now?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go straight to my take on that and say that by the court approving the usage of both a manual and the other register, it's a step ahead because technology is good, but at times it might fail. And, you know, we don't have an elongated period for running the elections. Also, it has the positive and negative implication. We can say the positive implication is that those voters that technical issues might have arose and they're not maybe in the system, the manual register can be able to help. But also the negative bit of it is that you can find that sometimes you understand that this issue brings in like the issue of maybe some parties wanting maybe to use that as a leeway to rigging or as a leeway to bring complaints later that some people are taken out of the register, etc. And by the issue of IBC being ready, I think the IBC was as ready as yesterday. because these bodies are independent. The IEBC, before, they had some issues about being allocated money to run the election, but that was sorted. And I think the IEBC is ready. And being an independent body, I like also to comment on the issue that you asked about schools closing. They're independent bodies. The issue of closing the school, that's an issue of the executive. They're the ones who maybe saw the need of closing the schools. But Kenyans are looking forward to this election being transparent and running without any hitches.
Thank you, Nixon. I'd like to bring in Vincent. Vincent, we're in the 11th hour. The elections are a few days away, and Deputy President and Kenya Kwanzaa presidential candidate William Ruto has sustained his offensive against President Uhuru Kenyatta, accusing him of trying to disrupt the polls. He actually said he's aware of plans to use chiefs and assistants to recruit people in polling stations to cause mayhem in a clear scheme to manipulate the process in order to favor Raila Odinga. What do you make of this accusations by Deputy President William Ruto? Do you think it's politicking as usual? Is he crying wolf, or are they legitimate concerns? Does he have evidence to prove this?
Okay, thank you. I think we go back to history, and if you understand Kenyan politics, the same deputy president who is now alleging that the state is using the administrators, that one when we include the chiefs and the regional commanders, whatever, all the allegations that he made yesterday, he was there, he was in the same position, but the other time, that was 2017, he was on the other side of the divide. That means right now is raising the issues that were being raised by the other party. So right now, Raila is on the other side. Raila is feeling comfortable. But Ruto, who was now on the other side, in the last election, is now feeling the heat. So I think this is just a political issue. There is the issues were there even in 2017, but now that the shoe is on the other side, they're being raised by the other person. So to me, I think it's just a political issue. There is nothing much. Kenyans are ready for election. All the independent bodies are working, and those are just normal allegations during political campaigns.
Okay, let's hear Susan's side of it now for the sake of our audience all over Africa, because there was a travel advisory warning by the United States talking about how volatile this election will be. So can you clarify situations going on in Kenya now at the moment?
What's the mood like?
I think everybody is excited. People are excited, both the people who are supporting Raila and people who are supporting Ruto. They are equally excited, and people are ready to cast their votes. Unlike 2017, I've seen that IEBC was mentioning that people turned out to take votes to register, and everybody is excited from the mood I see here in Kenya. And we are hoping that everybody is going to come out to cast their vote, and may the best win. I say may the best win.
Thank you, Susan. I'd like to bring in Nixon. Now, Nixon, as typical in many African elections, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga just concluded his last campaign outing today. When it comes to election season, we see a lot of noise made, promises made by politicians. There's a lot of money that moves around. They try to induce voters and all of that. There's a lot of money politics and personality politics that lacks a lot of substance. How would you rate this campaign season? Do you think the leading candidates, even though some of them failed to attend the debate, did they really address the issues that are the heart of the Kenyan electorate? Would you say you're satisfied with the quality of discourse, or was it drowned in the whole jamboree of campaign season? What's your assessment?
I can say that, in my own opinion, this election is very key. And the promises being made from these elections are also very key. And Kenyans are watching. Kenyans will be following step by step, because we understand that looking at all the candidates for the presidential election, we should not forget that we have other candidates like Wajakoya. We have other candidates like who also have a significant number of followers, especially Wajakoya and the others. But now about delivering, I think from the two candidates, a normal Kenyan is able to weigh and see who can deliver, because both of them have been in the government at one point or the other. We can gauge from that. Did they deliver or not? The other one is still in office. What is he doing in office? What is he doing that is promising that I will do this that time? The other one was the prime minister. We can gauge from his performance. Was he able to perform? And that one, the question is left to Kenyans to now weigh and see.
All right, Rickson, I'll stay with you because you brought about the issue of this top person party now. That's the Wajakoya. Do you feel it would have been better if Wajakoya had formed a coalition with any of the two heads? Did you see that happening, or what exactly is your take on Wajakoya's candidacy so far? I mean, he came up with a very funny campaign, so to say.
Yeah, I can say that Wajakoya factor is a very, very key factor that cannot be ignored. Because with his funny ways of campaigning, etc., he has been able to convince a very key section of the population, that is the youths. But the youths, and maybe I can say, okay.
I mean, but his campaign, the use of marijuana and hyenas, do you think his campaign was really worked well, so to say?
I can say that his campaign was worth it, because he was just trying to give. He has helped in showing the masses that yes, we have leaders who are not doing the right thing. Although his ways of doing the right thing is also wrong, according to me. But he is very key, and he should not be ignored.
Thank you, Nixon. Now, Vincent, traditionally, Kenyan elections have always been a two-horse race. And these elections, it will be the first time since post-Moi, Daniel Arap Moi era that an incumbent will not be on the ballot box. Are we expecting things to remain the same? Will it be a two-horse race, or you think one of the outsiders could perhaps pull an upset? Yes, Vincent, go ahead, please.
Kindly unmute your mic, please, so we can hear you clearly.
Okay, yeah. If I got you right, you are saying that is the first time since the Moi era that we are having an incumbent not contesting?
Yes, and are we expecting it to be a two-horse race? It's traditionally elections in Kenya always between two major candidates. Are we expecting an upset this time around, or things will remain the way they used to in the past?
Of course, right now we have is a two-horse race, of course, in as much as there are two other candidates who are contesting. But I think that is just to show the maturity of our democracy. But really, if we analyze it deeply, it's a two-horse race. This is between the Deputy President, William Ruto, and the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. So I don't expect that we are going to have a different, we are going to have a third party, or rather the third candidate being of much less support. And talking about Wajakoya, let me just talk a little about Wajakoya. I think the guy came up with a very nice strategy, in as much as he's being painted as a state project, or rather as one of the major rivals. The two is being painted as like is a project of one of the major contenders. But I think his ideology was so well organized, or rather the approach that he gave it, all in as much as the issues that he raised are not welcomed by the society, when we talk about the marijuana and the hyena things and everything, but it is an eye-opener that we can really have somebody from nowhere who has never been in the limelight, and this person can bring a third or an extra force to our political. So it shows much democracy. I think it shows maturity of our democracy as a nation.
Talking about sorry to interrupt you, Vincent. Talking about your maturity as a nation and Kenya's democracy, there's always a lot of palpable tension and apprehension when Kenya's elections approaches because of post-election violence in the past. Has any of the leading candidates, and have they come out in a group to say, you know what, we have our trust and endorse the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, that is the umpire responsible for conducting these elections, and we will respect the decisions of the electorate when the results are announced? Has any of them come out to say our supporters should not resort to violence and all of that?
Exactly. During the presidential debate, I'm sure that the deputy president reiterated on that, and he said that he's ready to concede as long as the election is fair, verifiable, and transparent. At the moment, we've not heard directly from the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, but be as it may, I think the status is the same thing. Well, he has a bad history when it comes to conceding election. But personally, let me say personally, as the way things are, I think he stand a chance. And with all the issues that they were raising about the IEBC, the Independent Electoral Body, that are going to conduct the election, I think most of their issues that they raised have been resolved. They have talked about it. And I think they don't have any other reason not to concede. Not to concede if they don't make it this time round.
All right, Susan.
So all the major parties, I think, but to be sincere, the deputy have stated that, and I remember he stated during the presidential debate, which the former prime minister did not attend.
Okay, now aside the issue of post-election violence, which you said that the Deputy President William Ruto has talked hard against, let's look at William Ruto's campaign strategy when he came up with the hustlers and dynasty strategy, talking about how to elevate the hustler and how the President Uhuru Kenyatta has made a differentiation between the upper class and the lower class. Now, I know you said earlier on, Susan, that may the best man win, but if you look at things in Kenya, how far do you think that this campaign strategy has gone? Do you think the people are actually welcoming the idea of the hustler dynasty strategy?
I think what happens currently is that we are looking at our economy, and going by what is the trends now, we are not looking at the hustler nation or the dynasty thing. What we care about is our future as a nation. And if you look at the two presidential candidates, the big two, that is Honorable Ruto and Raila, and you look at what they are going to give to Mwananchi, people are interested in what the value they have in that manifesto. But again, we also say that we would want to have somebody who is going to transform the economy. It's not going to be easy for either of them. Whoever wins, it's not going to be easy. And Kenyans should not be so much optimistic to seeing a bigger change in the first year or second year of the rule of who is going to come in. But we want to see a change in terms of what they have shown us in their manifesto. And I think Raila Odinga's manifesto was very rich in terms of how they want to elevate the poor, support them, the vulnerable, how they're going to work with the youth. Equally, Ruto's manifesto was good, but we are also looking at what has transpired in the past government. Honorable Ruto was in the national government. He was one of the lead people in that government. So you can't critique what you were, where you were. You were serving in that nation. You are serving in that government. So critiquing a government that you served in brings a lot of questions. What is it that is going to do uniquely? Raila Odinga has vied for as long as I've known, I started voting in this country, but he's never been a president. But he has a lot of sense in terms of support. He has the nation at heart. So, and whatever he has in his manifesto, working together with Martha Karua, who is equal to the task, I think they are going to deliver.
He was never a president, but he was a former prime minister. What change did he make then?
I think that was the turning point for Kenya. If you remember very well, Raila Odinga was a prime minister when Kibaki was the president. And in that government, Ruto put it as a bottom-up approach. But I think Raila Odinga and Kibaki implemented both the bottom-up approach and the up-bottom approach at once. And it really worked well. So for me, I was looking at what they were able to achieve in terms of transforming our country, and where they left it. Things did not go well at some point, but they also picked it supporting Uhuru Kenyatta, and I think he's going to deliver that going forward. The only challenge that he's going to go through is that our economy is at a bad time, and we hope that it's going to transform that economy, because prices of food here is so heavy on the common mwananchi.
Now, thank you, Susan. I would like to stay with you on this question because you're the only woman on this panel, and you will be able to relate.
I'm also a woman. I think I'm not understanding.
She's a guest. I'm not asking you questions here. So, Susan, let's talk about Honorable Martha Karua. She's been described as the Iron Lady of Kenyan politics, a former Justice Minister, and it's the first time in Kenyan history that you have three females that are running as deputy president, and she stands a solid chance of emerging as Kenya's first female deputy president. Some feminists have said, she's shedding that Iron Lady persona to appeal to more men, and so they won't see her as a threat. What do you make of that? And do you think the female factor has something to play in the way people would vote, or it's a non-issue come August the 9th?
Yes, I think Martha Karua was the game changer in this campaign all along. And when Martha Karua was appointed as the deputy to Raila, every woman was excited. Why? Because we felt that Martha Karua is, just as you say, she's an iron lady. She's been able to deliver in each and every portfolio she's been in. And again, as women professionals, we are happy that for the first time in history of Kenya, we have a female vice president. And I'm sure that women are going to turn out in large numbers. And no woman is not going to vote because I'm sure all women are going to vote Raila because of Martha Karua. Personally, I'm going to do that because of Martha Karua.
Okay, you've given yourself out there. All right, let's hear from Rixim, please. You're talking about Raila Odinga. I want to bring another issue here of this Raila Odinga, because another major thing that happened in Kenya was the handshake between the President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, and of course the situation of the Building Bridges Initiative, which was kicked off by the court. Now, do you still have issues with this Building Bridges Initiative, and do you think that the matter will be brought up again if Raila Odinga wins the presidency?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Talking about the handshake, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta decided to have a handshake. And we saw that the handshake really brought things to a culmination in our beautiful country. because at that time we had every week demonstrations. There was no business. There was unrest all over. So and so cannot go to this region. So and so cannot go to this region. So to me, first of all, in my own opinion, I can say that the handshake was a very, very important thing. Number two, let's come to the document, the Building Bridges Initiative. That document had its own strength and its own weaknesses. Talking about the strength of that document, the committee sat down and looked at the issues that the Kenya as a country has been having because of elections. And the big issue here is the winner takes it all. So each and every person is fighting that, okay, we must have it. And when we have it, the opposition, there's no development in that region, etc., etc. So like that document had its own goods, its own good impact on the people of Kenya. Number two, let us look at the way in which the document was kicked out. Okay, to me, in my own thinking, I can say that there is a supremacy battle between the executive, and the judiciary. This rivalry, according to me, dates back to the cancellation of the presidential results. From that time, we saw the executive taking some actions on judiciary, which I can also say that they were not also fair to the judiciary. And to me, I think sometimes I look at how the judiciary is doing things, and I think that they're also trying to fight back and show their might. But it is not good when they do that at the expense of a common mwananchi. Okay. So the building bridges, yes, sir.
Yes, I would like you to complete your thoughts, please.
Yes, so according to me, I can say that the BBI document was going to change everything. And if Raila Odinga gets this, we have had sentiments from the president and we have had sentiments from Raila Odinga himself that the document will be brought back. Maybe this time around it will be better without the weaknesses that made it to fall.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rickson. Now, Vincent, before we begin to wrap things up, elections are on Tuesday and Kenyans are ready to vote in a new president. What should be the priority and what are Kenyans demanding for the new president that emerges when the results are announced next week? What are those priority issues at the top of the Kenyan electorate's mind? What needs to be addressed?
At the moment, we have to talk about peace, because we should live as brothers and sisters, no matter how the result will be. No matter who will win, we are all Kenyans. I think that's the baseline. So in as much as we are going to vote in whoever we wish or whoever we want to take us ahead as a nation, it is very candid that each and every leader should make it their own mandate to preach and preach and preach peace. We've had a bad history, more so, we had a bad history in 2007, 2008. That is when we had our post-election violence. We had the same problem in 2013 and also in 2017. And as Rickson said, that before the handshake came in, Kenya was in a bad state. Kenya was burning. People were also already talking about secession. The country was divided. Like the Nyanza side, the western side of the country wanted to form their own country. There were a lot of stories. The coastal regions were talking about their own region. Actually, there were already new boundaries that had been drawn. So the major thing that each and every candidate, no matter what level you are contesting, be it the presidential, be it the gubernatorial, be it the Senate, number one thing at the moment, now that we have 3 days to election, it should be peace, peace, peace. Because if you
All right, Vincent, I think you've highlighted the major point there. Peace. Susan highlighted the economy, improving the economy of Kenya. Of course, we look forward to the August 9 election, and we here at News Central will be giving you live updates and analysis. Thank you so much, Vincent Ochienga, Susan Kanga, and Rixi Mubarak for joining us on this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, now it's time for us to switch gears to South Sudan, where the first presidential elections have been postponed to 2024. President Salva Kiir and Vice President Riek Machar made this announcement yesterday.
And our President Salva Kiir, Vice President Riek Machar, and other signatures signed the new roadmap in the capital, Juba. The extension of the transitional period means South Sudan will not hold a long-awaited elections in February next year. And this is supposed to be the first elections after a bit of delay. And now the South Sudanese leaders have signed a roadmap extending the transitional period of the peace agreement for 24 months starting from February 22, 2023. And, you know, the situation in South Sudan is quite peculiar because we saw the US envoy, we saw Norway envoy all back out from the peace deal. Yeah, from the meeting.
No, they didn't totally back out of the peace deal.
But they weren't there.
They declined to attend an invitation because in protest, because they feel, why are you postponing the peace deal? And I'm quite surprised that they did, because I don't think they would have done it alone, because there are parties.
But you know, the opposition parties were also complaining of not it being deferred. I think some opposition parties also did not attend the peace deal.
So, but if you're looking at the history of South Sudan and where they're coming from and recent history, there's still ethnic tensions and all of that. And there was a bloody civil war. So if you're going to move elections by 2 years, and hopefully the situation there would not be volatile, I think it's a better deal than to force elections and then you have chaos and violence.
I wouldn't see it as an issue of forcing the elections. I think most times presidents use the issue of security to postpone the elections, and that's what Salva Kiir said. Well, he had enough
legitimate concerns, but
he had time. It was supposed to be February 3rd, February 2023 for the elections, and people were anticipating for the elections.
But the situation on ground in South Sudan does not
What did he do
for elections?
What did he do to make the situations more peaceful?
I mean, it's on both of them. I'm not a South Sudanese government spokesperson, but I would just feel I just feel it's better for both parties and for Sudan to have a more stable climate for elections to hold.
Definitely. We do hope for peace all around the African continent. Nigeria. In Nigeria, we also have situations going on with the governing party from the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, talking about YouTube blocking the pages of the separatist group. That is the Biafra, the IPOP group, the group that wants to actually remove away from Nigeria. And this has been an issue going on in Nigeria. We have situations in Kenya where the elections are going to hold August 9, and we heard from our guests, Kenya is peaceful and Kenyans are waiting for the election.
And of course, here at News Central, we'll bring you all-day coverage starting at 4 a.m. West African time on Tuesday, the 9th of August. This is how much we could take on today's edition of The Conversation. I'm Benga Borowa.
And I'm Rita Modia. See you again on Monday.